And this is where the story really heats up. The DTCC, the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, 55 Water Street, New York. Behind the scenes, this organization helps to clear and settle trades across a wide range of securities. But there's a growing belief that in the world of silver, the DTCC, the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, may be playing a role in keeping prices artificially low. Some say the big financial institutions are shorting silver, betting against it in a big way, and that's where the silver squeeze comes in. Something that shook up the market in 2021 when retail investors, driven by social media communities, decided enough was enough. And they started buying silver, forcing the big players to cover their positions, which sent shockwaves through the market. Now, how does all this fit together? How do Dow theory, green theory, energy, inflation, DTCC, and the silver squeeze connect in today's world? Stick around and find out. It's an interesting discussion we have in the day. Message from Donald Trump. Today, I've ordered the United States military to launch decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. They have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, violence, and terrorism against American and other ships, aircraft, and drones. Joe Biden's response was pathetically weak, so the unrestrained Houthis just kept going. It's been over a year since the U.S. flagged commercial ships safely sailed through the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, or the Gulf of Aden. The last American warship to go through the Red Sea 4 months ago was attacked by Houthis over a dozen times. Funded by Iran, the Houthi thugs have fired missiles at U.S. aircraft and targeted our troops and allies. These relentless assaults have cost the U.S. and world economy many billions of dollars, while at the same time putting innocent lives at risk. The Houthi attack on American vessels will not be tolerated. We will use overwhelming lethal force until we have achieved our objective. The Houthis have choked off shipping in one of the most important waterways of the world, grinding vast swaths of global commerce to a halt and attacking the core principle of freedom and navigation upon which international trade and commerce depends. Our brave warfighters are right now carrying out these aerial attacks on the terrorist bases. This is live stuff. This is history in the making, folks. Leaders and missile defenses to protect American shipping, air, and naval assets and to restore navigational freedom. No terrorist force will stop American commercial and naval vessels from freely sailing the waterways of the world. To all Houthi terrorists, your time is up and your attacks must stop. Starting today, if they don't, hell will rain down upon you like nothing you've ever seen before. To Iran, support the Houthi terrorists must end immediately. Do not threaten the American people, their president, who has received one of the largest mandates in presidential history, or worldwide shipping lanes. If you do, beware, because America will hold you fully accountable and we won't be nice about it all. Next, let's take a look at this attack that took place on the Houthis. It is a stunner. Watch. We got some powerful weapons. Breaking, Gim Gill, a Bat Cave, North Carolina resident whose home was hit by a landslide during Hurricane Helene and denied by insurance, received an unexpected visit. Over 30 Amish carpenters from Pennsylvania arrived this week and rebuilt their home in one day. God bless America.
The Amish.
They called, they asked if there was any carpentry work they could do. They were out here the next couple of days and did everything. Finished it in one day, was fantastic.
It's part of an initiative through the Just For Him Ministries based in Kentucky, inviting up to 30 of these young volunteers at a time to help repair homes.
Now that a lot of the heavy equipment's being passed over to the road crews, we've been needing a lot of construction work done to houses for repairs, total rebuilds, things like that. And these Amish people, they're a blessing to this whole community.
Isaac Guffey has been helping families and working with the group for months and says their work is crucial to helping Bat Cave get back on their feet.
They're just getting it done that fast. When they do a full roof for somebody, I mean, it's done in just a couple of hours. So, I mean, they're great and amazing at what they do.
Both Kim and Isaac say their real hope is that this will encourage others to help too.
The story's kind of weakened, you know, and I feel like that's hindered a little bit of the help coming in, because it has slowed down a lot.
We just need to pitch in and help each other. Don't forget your neighbors. Don't forget the people that are out here that are suffering.
47 years ago, during a July 20th, 1975 concert, between songs, Elvis was joking around and giving out scars when he noticed a little girl standing on the far left of the stage. He walked over and knelt down on one knee in front of her. Realizing she was blind, Elvis held her hands out and spoke to her for a few minutes. The audience could not hear as he kept the microphone away from his mouth. He then kissed his scarf and touched her both eyes with it. When he was finished, he took the scarf and held it to the child's face. The little girl stood there with complete confidence in what Elvis was doing. The little girl had been blind since birth. Elvis talked to the little girl's mother and after the concert and paid for the surgery to restore her sight. Today, she's a computer graphic artist. Amazing, huh?
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I'm the Secretary for the Department of Health and Human Services. In the final months of the election, President Trump repeatedly called for removing toxins from our food supply. He added his voice to the millions of Maha moms who were touting the Make America Healthy Again agenda. The first step is radical transparency because right now, not even the U.S. government knows what's in our food. In 1958, the government created a designation called Generally Recognized as Safe, or GRAS, so that we can make common ingredients like salt and baking soda exempt from testing. But today, it isn't just salt and baking soda. Food companies and cooperative regulators have enlarged the GRAS exemption so that these companies can decide for themselves whether a substance is generally recognized as safe. No FDA approval is needed. European nations, on the other hand, require that a chemical be proven safe before it becomes a food ingredient. In our country, the GRAS standard means that every chemical is presumed safe until proven dangerous, and that proof might not happen until millions of Americans are sick with chronic disease. This mass experiment on the American population with GRAS has, in short, been a catastrophe. We now have around 10,000 chemicals in our food. Europe has only 400. For example, titanium dioxide, potentially linked to DNA damage and cancer, is banned in the EU, but it's in our children's food. Potassium bromate, a suspected carcinogen, banned in Europe and Japan. And you guessed it, it's in our children's bread. Food dyes such as red dye 40 and yellow 5 and 6 come with warning labels in Europe. They're linked to behavioral issues in children, but in the U.S., they're generally recognized as safe. I can't really blame the food companies. They're just doing what we've allowed them to get away with in a system that's taken on a life of its own. We all agree now that it's time to change the system, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I am today directing the FDA commissioner to start the process of changing the rules to eliminate the self-affirming GRAS pathway for new ingredients. I'm also directing the FDA and NIH to ramp up post-market assessments of GRAS chemicals currently in our food so that we can rapidly identify the compounds that are making Americans so sick, and so that American consumers and regulators can make informed decisions. This issue isn't going away. Moms aren't going to return to wanting chemicals in our food that are banned in other developed countries. Even industry knows that we have to change. So I promise you, I'm going to work with all parties, the companies, the moms, the scientists, the consumer advocates, to make American food the healthiest in the world the way that it was when I was a child.
Due to interference by federal judges in deportation, President Trump has invoked the Alien Enemies Act to facilitate the deportation of members of the Trendargua gang.
It is true that many of the people in this room for 4 years failed to cover the fact that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent and was not running the country. It is also true that many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. A president is elected by the whole American people. He's the only official in the entire government that is elected by the entire nation, right? Judges are appointed, members of Congress are elected at the district or state level, just one man. And the Constitution, Article 2, has a clause known as the vesting clause, and it says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government. The threat to democracy, indeed the existential threat to democracy, is the unelected bureaucracy of lifetime tenured civil servants who believe they answer to no one, who believe they can do whatever they want without consequence, who believe they can set their own agenda no matter what Americans vote for. So Americans vote for radical FBI reform, and FBI agents say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote for radical reform on our energy policies, but EPA bureaucrats say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote to end DEI, racist DEI policies, and lawyers at the Department of Justice say they don't want to change. What President Trump is doing is he is removing federal bureaucrats who are defying democracy by failing to implement his lawful orders, which are the will of the whole American people.
A few protesters outside, and I can't be the only person wondering, it's a little after noon on a Friday, and don't you all have jobs? Who are the people? And I think that's one of the reasons why we've got to rebuild American manufacturing and support great companies like Vantage Plastics, because we want those people to get off the streets and back to work. It'd be good for them, and it'd be good for everybody else, too.
Just in, the IRS's top lawyer that blocked Elon Musk's Doge from accessing taxpayer data has been removed.
I'm calling for the subpoenas to be issued to Judge Merchant's daughter's company, who made $15+ million from the illicit information pouring out of her father's courtroom. I want to know the bank records, because money doesn't lie. Yep. I want to know how deep it is and how much of it went to the family and how much of it is going to the family after this false conviction. And then we need to investigate the FEC actual violations that this judge and his family conducted, because he should never have been overseeing this trial to begin with, because of the illicit campaign money that was flowing through there, and the unconstitutional due process violations are only the beginning. So America is calling for accountability of our judicial system, and Congress is the only lever that has it, and I'm hoping for one or two brave members of Congress that I'm talking to issue those subpoenas ASAP.